Hi, I'm Kim Wallace from Dry Creek Vineyard, and I'm the president and second generation owner, and I'm very happy to be with you today to introduce you to our family winery. I have to admit, it's a little weird being in the tasting room by myself, but these are the times that we live in, and so hopefully having a chance to watch this video will give you a little bit more information about our winery, and I hope you come visit us someday when everybody can get out and about. We have a very long history. In fact, it's our 48th year of operation, and we're one of the very few 100% privately owned, iconic legacy wineries, and I couldn't be more proud to be carrying on the family tradition. Our history started with my father, who was one of the original industry pioneers. His name is David Stair, and he started the winery in 1972. He got interested in wine in a kind of a roundabout way, which is very true for a lot of people. He was originally a civil engineer, but we lived in Europe when I was a small child, and it was there that he fell in love with the white wines of the Loire Valley. When he returned to the States, he decided he wanted to completely change careers, and we ended up moving to California so he could study winemaking at University of California at Davis. And then on the weekends, my parents would load me up in the car and drive around looking for properties for them to purchase. They eventually stumbled upon a very rundown, sleepy little valley called the Dry Creek Valley, and they purchased a rundown prune orchard on a handshake deal. And that was the beginning of Dry Creek Vineyard. And the year was 1972. So one of the varietals that my dad pioneered was Sauvignon Blanc. And he was in fact the first to plant Sauvignon Blanc here after Prohibition and released Sonoma County's first Fumé Blanc. And for all these years, we've made the same classic, crisp, dry style Sauvignon Blanc that Dad loved. Another very important first was our advocacy of sustainable farming. And my husband, Don, was one of the original pioneers of that movement. And we've been farming sustainably for all these years. We are 100% certified sustainable. So a lot of historic firsts that I think people in the industry aren't aware of originated here at Dry Creek Vineyard. I'm going to take you in the cellar now and share a little bit more about the wines with you, and so follow me along. Come on into the cellar. Welcome to the cellar, everyone. We're actually known for producing wines that have really incredible balance. They're very food friendly, and they taste of a sense of place. They're appellation defining, terroir focused, and there's really no better wine to start with than our Chenin Blanc. We're one of the very few producers who have made 48 consecutive vintage of a dry style Chenin. It's one of my personal favorites. Chenin Blanc is a beautiful white variety that originated in the Loire Valley, but here at Dry Creek Vineyard, we produce it in our own classic style. It tends to be on the dry side, so the residual sugar is very minimal. It's very fruity. It has beautiful honeysuckle, watermelon, honeydew melon aromatics, a little bit of minerality, extremely crisp and refreshing, and wonderful with oysters. It is really a family favorite. The next wine, and probably the flagship of the winery, is our Fumé Blanc. And this is the wine that Dad pioneered back in the early days. And we have continued to produce it in the classic dry style. We celebrate the natural inherent characteristics of Sauvignon Blanc, such as lemon and lemongrass, and a little bit of kefir lime, and some nice dried herbs, and again, a little bit of minerality. Bright acidity. So this is a wine that really is lively on the palate, excellent with poultry and all manner of seafood. One of our family favorites as well. The third wine I want to introduce you to is the Heritage Vines Zinfandel. And this is kind of a special wine with a really wonderful story. Dry Creek Valley has a wonderful reputation for Zinfandel, and many of the Zinfandel vineyards that are planted here were first planted back in the late 1800s when the Italians settled here. But over the years, we've seen many of these wonderful historic vineyards be torn out. So about 30 years ago, we started a propagation technique where we took old vine budwood from one of the oldest pre-Prohibition vineyards, and we grafted that onto rootstock planted in our own vineyard, actually right behind the winery where I live. And the whole idea was to try to capture some of the wonderful heirloom characteristics of great old Zinfandel. So spicy tones, wonderful black cherry, blackberry, fruit tones, a little bit of nice plum, but with white pepper and coriander and cinnamon spice. And so the Heritage Vine Zinfandel reflects those flavors. This is also a wine that has received 91-point scores from the Wine Spectator 7 years in a row. And I think one of the things that makes it very special is the balance. This is not a high alcohol overripe style of Zinfandel. I love acidity in our wines. We love wines that are balanced, and so you have a high level of acidity throughout all the wines from our winery. The last wine is our Cabernet Sauvignon, and there's a number of things that make our approach to Cabernet unique. First of all, it's one of the few 100% Dry Creek Valley Cabernets available. And one of the reasons why Dry Creek Valley is so great for growing Cabernet is the high iron content in the soil, especially on the western slopes here in the valley. And that high iron content gives us bright Bing cherry tones, some nice dried floral characteristics, a little bit of savory herb, so very multidimensional. We also have always created a blend for our Cabernet. We've never produced a 100% Cabernet because we really believe that a blend of all 5 traditional Bordeaux varietals produces a much more complex, rich, bold wine. So this is a blend, and it is one of my favorites. The vines, the vineyards are all grown on very steep terraced hillsides and benchlands, not only from the western slopes, but also from the eastern benchlands of Dry Creek Valley. We age it for about 17 months in French oak barrels, and it is absolutely delicious. This is a wine that I would pair with leg of lamb or a really juicy steak. It's just wonderful. I'm very proud of it, and I think that Dry Creek Valley represents one of the relatively undiscovered regions for Cabernet Sauvignon. I'm often asked, why sailboats on a brand called Dry Creek? And the answer is simple. We are a family that is passionate about sailing, and we have featured original sailboat labels on our wines since 1982. We're actually known as the official wine for sailors. Thank you for supporting our family winery. We are so appreciative of it, and I really hope you'll have a chance to come visit us here at the winery someday. I also want to thank all the medical professionals and the servicemen and women and the emergency responders who are out there on the front lines trying to keep us safe. All of us owe you a huge debt of gratitude. So from my family to yours, thank you so much. Stay safe, and I hope to see you here at the winery someday. Cheers!